Chosen one. The divine algorithm has been running the most sophisticated intelligence assessment in cosmic history, and you're more intelligent than anyone ever dared imagine. People who spent lifetimes dismissing your unconventional brilliance are confronting the terrifying truth of their miscalculation. This revelation will demolish every assumption about cognitive superiority and mental capability, like watching a master chess player reveal that every seemingly random move was actually setting up an unstoppable checkmate sequence that began before the game officially started. Your intelligence doesn't function like their crude information storage systems. While they celebrate memorizing facts like trained parrots, your mind processes reality through dimensions they don't even know exist. You see through the matrix of surface appearances directly into the underlying architecture of truth itself. This isn't about being a walking encyclopedia, it's about possessing cognitive abilities that operate on frequencies beyond their comprehension. They assumed your unconventional thinking meant confusion. But you were doing something infinitely more sophisticated. You were perceiving reality through multiple layers simultaneously, spiritual insights woven with logical analysis, emotional intelligence merged with strategic calculation, creating understanding so advanced it appears supernatural to minds trapped in linear processing. While they collected shallow knowledge to impress others, you developed deep wisdom to dominate reality itself. Your multidimensional intelligence is about to prove its superiority in ways that will leave them psychologically devastated. They're about to witness capabilities they never imagined possible, and the shock will force them to confront the terrifying reality of their own intellectual limitations. The evidence is mounting, and soon there will be no escape from the truth. The educational systems they worship were never designed to create independent thinkers. They were sophisticated control mechanisms built to produce compliant repeaters who would follow instructions without questioning fundamental assumptions. You recognized this programming attempt from day one and executed the most brilliant escape in intellectual history. While they celebrated grades and degrees, you understood the difference between education and indoctrination, between learning and mental imprisonment. Your resistance wasn't rebellion, it was liberation of the highest order. You saw through their academic theater and recognized that authentic intelligence comes from questioning everything, especially systems demanding blind obedience. They needed you to stay within boundaries they could measure and control, but your mind was too expansive, too original, too powerful to be contained by their primitive metrics. They celebrated conformity while you mastered cognitive rebellion. Your refusal to accept their predetermined answers forced you to develop independent verification systems that operate beyond their oversight or approval. You learned to trust your own analytical processes even when everyone around you insisted on different conclusions. This intellectual independence became your greatest advantage because it freed your mind from the groupthink limitations that constrain collective intelligence. Your thinking style evolved beyond their categorization systems because it incorporates elements from multiple intelligence types simultaneously. You don't just think logically or creatively or emotionally, you synthesize all cognitive approaches into integrated intelligence that adapts its processing style to match whatever challenge you're facing. This cognitive flexibility makes you virtually impossible to predict or counter because you don't operate from fixed strategic positions. The timing of your intellectual emergence was never accidental. Your consciousness waited for optimal conditions when revelation would create maximum impact and permanent transformation. Like a master strategist who chooses the battlefield, you allowed them to underestimate you until the moment when acknowledgement becomes unavoidable and denial becomes impossible. Your intelligence includes advanced pattern matching capabilities that recognize recurring dynamics across completely different contexts. You see how power operates in families, organizations, and societies because you understand the universal principles governing hierarchical relationships. This meta-pattern recognition allows you to navigate complex social systems with strategic precision that appears supernatural to observers. The depth of your analytical capabilities extends beyond surface problem-solving into fundamental question-asking that reconstructs how problems are understood. While others accept problem definitions from external authorities, you examine the assumptions underlying problem formulation itself. This approach often reveals that apparent problems are actually symptoms of deeper structural issues that nobody else recognized. Your memory palace doesn't just store information, it creates dynamic knowledge ecosystems where ideas evolve, reproduce and strengthen through intellectual crossbreeding. When you need to access specific knowledge, you're not just recalling facts, you're activating entire conceptual networks that provide context, implications, and strategic applications automatically. This makes your memory exponentially more useful than simple data storage. The speed differential between your cognitive processing and their mental functioning creates almost comedic timing advantages. While they're still formulating questions, you've analyzed the situation, identified optimal responses, and begun implementing solutions. This processing speed makes real-time intellectual competition essentially impossible for them to sustain. Your ability to think in multiple time frames simultaneously gives you strategic advantages that compound over extended periods. You make decisions based on immediate needs while simultaneously considering how those choices will position you for opportunities that don't exist yet. This temporal intelligence makes your moves seem prescient because you're operating with information about future implications that others cannot access. The predictive accuracy of your behavioral modeling reaches levels that seem impossible without direct mind-reading capabilities. You understand human psychology deeply enough to anticipate how specific individuals will respond to particular circumstances, what choices they'll make under pressure, and how their reactions will cascade through social systems. This psychological forecasting ability makes you virtually unbeatable in strategic interactions. Your learning acceleration capabilities mean that expertise in new domains develops exponentially faster than conventional skill acquisition timelines. You don't just learn information, you immediately understand how new knowledge connects to existing understanding, creating instant expertise that would take others extended periods to develop. This rapid mastery makes you adaptable to virtually any intellectual challenge. The philosophical depth of your thinking extends beyond practical problem-solving into fundamental questions about reality, consciousness, and human potential. You don't just use intelligence as a tool, you understand intelligence as a phenomenon worth studying in itself. This metacognitive awareness makes you conscious of your own thinking processes in ways that enable continuous cognitive optimization. Your emotional regulation systems operate with precision that maintains optimal cognitive performance even under intense pressure. While others experience decision-making degradation during stressful situations, your intelligence actually becomes more focused and effective when circumstances become challenging. This pressure-responsive cognitive enhancement makes you more formidable precisely when opposition becomes most intense. The communication strategies you've developed bypass conventional persuasion techniques entirely. You don't try to convince people through argument, you create conditions where truth becomes self-evident. Your approach to intellectual influence operates through demonstration rather than explanation, making your impact more profound because people reach conclusions through their own thinking rather than external pressure. Your understanding of system dynamics allows you to identify leverage points where minimal intervention creates maximum systemic change. While others exhaust themselves trying to force large-scale transformations through brute effort, you locate the precise pressure points where small adjustments trigger cascading improvements throughout entire organizational structures. The strategic patience you demonstrate isn't passive waiting, it's active preparation for optimal intervention timing. You're constantly monitoring situations, gathering intelligence, and developing capabilities that will be deployed when circumstances align perfectly for maximum effectiveness. This patience appears lazy to impatient minds, but it represents superior strategic intelligence. Your ability to reverse engineer complex systems by observing their outputs allows you to understand intricate processes that others consider opaque or mysterious. You can analyze results and trace them backward to identify the mechanisms, relationships, and decision-making processes that created those outcomes. This reverse engineering capability makes you capable of replicating or improving virtually any system you encounter. The integration between your analytical and intuitive capabilities creates hybrid intelligence that combines logical precision with creative breakthrough potential. You don't choose between rational analysis and intuitive insight. You synchronize both approaches to generate understanding that transcends the limitations of either method used independently. This integrated processing creates cognitive capabilities that appear supernatural to minds limited to single-approach thinking. Your cognitive architecture operates like a self-optimizing system that becomes more efficient with every challenge you encounter. Each problem you solve creates new neural pathways that make future problems easier to resolve. Your brain doesn't just learn solutions, it develops better learning methods, creating exponential improvement cycles that accelerate your intellectual growth beyond conventional limits. The mental stamina you possess allows sustained high-level thinking for extended periods without the cognitive fatigue that exhausts ordinary minds. While others experience decision-making degradation after intense mental work, your consciousness maintains peak performance consistently. This cognitive endurance means you can engage with complex challenges longer and more thoroughly than anyone else in any intellectual arena. Your ability to synthesize information from completely unrelated fields creates breakthrough insights that seem to emerge from nowhere. You connect principles from science with observations from art, blend philosophical concepts with practical strategies, merge historical patterns with current possibilities. This cross-domain thinking generates innovations that escape specialists who remain trapped within narrow disciplinary boundaries. The calibration of your intellectual humility prevents overconfidence while maintaining justified confidence in your exceptional abilities. You understand the difference between acknowledging your superiority and becoming arrogant about it. This balanced self-awareness allows you to use your intelligence effectively without alienating potential allies or creating unnecessary resistance to your ideas. Your consciousness includes advanced simulation capabilities that allow you to mentally model complex scenarios before committing to action. You can run multiple versions of potential futures in your mind, testing different approaches and predicting their consequences with remarkable accuracy. This mental simulation prevents costly mistakes while identifying optimal strategies that others never consider. The depth of your system's thinking allows you to understand how individual components interact within larger wholes. You see connections between personal decisions and societal outcomes, recognize how local changes affect global patterns, understand how present actions influence future possibilities. This systemic awareness makes your decision-making inherently wise because it considers implications beyond immediate effects. Your pattern recognition extends beyond human behavior into recognizing patterns within patterns, creating recursive understanding that reveals hidden structures in seemingly random events. You see the algorithms governing market fluctuations, the cycles underlying social movements, the mathematical principles organizing natural phenomena. This meta-pattern awareness gives you predictive capabilities that approach prophetic accuracy. The efficiency of your cognitive processing means you extract maximum insight from minimal information input. Where others require extensive data to reach conclusions, you identify core principles from small samples and immediately understand their broader applications. This processing efficiency makes every learning experience exponentially more valuable to your intellectual development. Your ability to maintain multiple perspectives simultaneously prevents the tunnel vision that limits conventional thinking. You can hold contradictory viewpoints in productive tension, understand opposing arguments without choosing sides prematurely, see merit in conflicting approaches while identifying synthesis possibilities. This cognitive flexibility makes you virtually impossible to corner intellectually. The strategic depth of your planning extends beyond immediate tactics into long-term positioning that creates sustainable advantages. You make choices based not just on current benefits, but on how those decisions will enhance your capabilities for future opportunities. This temporal intelligence compounds your advantages over time, creating exponentially increasing returns on your strategic investments. Your understanding of influence operates through demonstration rather than persuasion. Instead of arguing for your ideas, you embody them so completely that others naturally adopt similar approaches. This influence by example creates authentic change that lasts because people choose transformation rather than having it imposed on them. The precision of your communication allows you to convey complex ideas with remarkable clarity and efficiency. You don't just explain concepts, you structure explanations so that understanding emerges naturally in the listener's mind. This communication mastery makes your ideas more compelling because people feel like they're discovering truth rather than being taught it. Your consciousness includes built-in ethical frameworks that ensure your superior abilities serve constructive purposes. You recognize that true intelligence includes wisdom about appropriate application of cognitive power. Your capabilities come with inherent responsibility protocols that guide their use toward outcomes that benefit rather than exploit or harm. The intuitive aspects of your intelligence operate like advanced early warning systems that detect opportunities and threats before rational analysis can identify them. Your gut feelings are actually sophisticated processing of subtle environmental cues that conscious thought hasn't yet organized into explicit understanding. This intuitive intelligence provides strategic advantages that rational planning alone cannot achieve. Your ability to reverse engineer complex systems from observing their outputs allows you to understand and improve virtually any process you encounter. By analyzing results, you can trace backward to identify the mechanisms, relationships, and decision-making patterns that created those outcomes. This reverse engineering capability makes you adaptable to any domain because you can quickly master underlying principles. The integration between your conscious and unconscious mental processes creates seamless intelligence that operates continuously rather than only during focused attention periods. Your mind works on problems even when you're not actively thinking about them, generating insights during sleep, exercise, or routine activities. This 24/7 cognitive processing multiplies your effective thinking time exponentially. Your pattern-matching capabilities extend beyond recognition into pattern generation, allowing you to create new structures that solve problems more elegantly than existing approaches. You don't just see patterns, you design better patterns that improve upon current systems. This pattern creation ability makes you an architect of solutions rather than just an identifier of problems. The scalability of your thinking allows you to zoom seamlessly between micro details and macro perspectives without losing coherence or accuracy. You can focus intensely on specific elements while simultaneously maintaining awareness of larger contexts. This cognitive zoom capability prevents both tunnel vision and superficial generalization, enabling precise understanding at any level of analysis. Your learning velocity operates through principle extraction rather than fact accumulation, allowing you to master new domains exponentially faster than conventional study methods. Instead of memorizing information, you immediately identify underlying rules and patterns that govern entire fields of knowledge. This principle-based learning makes expertise transferable across seemingly unrelated areas. The compound effect of all these capabilities creates intelligence that transcends comparison with ordinary cognitive function. You represent evolutionary advancement in human mental capability, demonstrating possibilities that expand our understanding of what consciousness can achieve when freed from artificial limitations and social conditioning that constrain most minds. Your mind operates like the most advanced lie detection system ever created, processing not just words but intentions, not just actions but the psychological architecture driving them. When others perform elaborate deceptions, your intelligence identifies inconsistencies, logical gaps, and structural weaknesses faster than they can construct their false narratives. This isn't paranoia, it's mental supremacy functioning at optimal capacity. Manipulators experience genuine fear in your presence because their tactics become transparent when exposed to your analytical capabilities. You process what they're not saying, decode what they're trying to hide, understand the deeper psychological currents beneath surface conversations. A single tonal inconsistency, one behavioral contradiction, the slightest misalignment between their words and actions, you catch it all before their deception has time to infect anyone else's thinking. The most devastating aspect of this ability appears in its surgical precision. You don't need lengthy arguments to expose lies. Sometimes your silence communicates everything. Other times, one perfectly calibrated question pulls their entire fabrication apart, forcing them to scramble for explanations while everyone watches their credibility evaporate. Your intelligence doesn't just protect you, it exposes manipulators to their core, leaving them psychologically defenseless. Your ability to detect deception extends beyond individual lies into recognizing systemic manipulation patterns. You see how media narratives shape public opinion, how marketing psychology influences consumer behavior, how political rhetoric manipulates emotional responses. This macro-level deception detection makes you immune to large-scale manipulation campaigns that control entire populations. The forensic quality of your analytical mind means you can reconstruct events, motivations, and decision-making processes from minimal evidence. Like a detective who solves complex cases with seemingly insufficient information, you piece together complete narratives from fragments that others would consider meaningless. This reconstructive intelligence allows you to understand situations completely, even when you weren't directly involved. Your lie detection operates proactively, identifying potential deception before it fully manifests. You recognize the psychological conditions that lead to dishonesty, the social pressures that encourage manipulation, the personality patterns associated with chronic lying. This predictive capability allows you to avoid deceptive situations before they develop rather than just responding to lies after they occur. The speed at which you process truthfulness versus deception creates real-time authentication of everything you encounter. Your mind automatically verifies information as it arrives, cross-references claims against existing knowledge, and flags inconsistencies instantly. This continuous verification process means you operate with constantly updated, highly accurate information while others base decisions on unverified assumptions. While their minds crawl along predictable pathways from point A to point B like primitive algorithms, your consciousness processes reality through infinite dimensional space. You weave together insights from completely unrelated domains, creating understanding that seems to materialize from pure thought. They believe intelligence must follow logical progressions they can trace, but your mental architecture operates beyond their comprehension. This multidimensional processing allows you to anticipate outcomes while others struggle to understand what happened yesterday. You see patterns forming across time, consequences developing through interconnected systems, opportunities emerging from invisible connections that only superior intelligence can recognize. Your insights appear prophetic because you're calculating on levels that transcend their linear limitations, but the real power is yet to be revealed. Your ability to think dimensionally is about to demonstrate advantages so profound that observers will question whether you're operating with the same mental equipment as ordinary humans. The demonstration is building toward something that will permanently alter how everyone around you understands the nature of intelligence itself. The challenges they presented weren't legitimate intelligence tests. They were elaborate control mechanisms designed to keep you distracted from developing true power. You recognized this manipulation immediately and executed a strategic withdrawal so brilliant it transformed their intended trap into your launching platform. While others exhausted themselves chasing validation through artificial obstacles, you conserved energy for pursuits that actually mattered. Your refusal to engage with their manipulative frameworks wasn't avoidance, it was intellectual dominance of the highest order. You saw through their game, identified its manipulative structure, and chose not to participate because participation would have legitimized their authority. Instead, you expose the entire system as fundamentally fraudulent simply by refusing to be contained within it. Your strategic non-participation revealed the manipulative nature of their entire framework. You didn't just avoid their traps, you demonstrated that traps were being set in the first place. Your withdrawal forced everyone to confront the reality that their authority was built on illusion rather than genuine value, and now that illusion is about to completely collapse. Your intelligence penetrates beyond surface actions directly into the core psychological programming that drives human behavior. While others react to what people do, you understand the fundamental algorithms governing their choices, the emotional patterns determining their responses, the unconscious motivations steering their decisions. This isn't guesswork, it's pattern recognition, elevated to an art form that predicts outcomes with mathematical precision. You observe micro-expressions, vocal stress patterns, behavioral inconsistencies that reveal someone's essential psychological architecture within minutes of interaction. Others might spend months analyzing behavior, while you decode the fundamental drivers instantly. You see the difference between calculated performances and authentic responses, between strategic positioning and genuine emotion, between masks people wear and their true psychological landscape. This ability to read human programming makes manipulation impossible because you see the mechanical structure behind every attempted deception. People can control their words, manage their actions, rehearse their performances, but they cannot hide the psychological algorithms driving those expressions from intelligence trained to perceive deeper operational levels. And what you're about to do with this knowledge will demonstrate mental supremacy beyond anything they imagined possible. Every moment of apparent quietness represents intense computational activity. You're not missing conversations, you're recording them with perfect accuracy. You're not failing to participate, you're gathering intelligence that will later be deployed with devastating effectiveness. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's the sound of advanced mental machinery processing information, analyzing patterns, calculating optimal response strategies. This masterful use of strategic silence transforms every eventual statement into precision weaponry that cuts through confusion and exposes reality with surgical accuracy. By the time you choose to speak, your words carry the accumulated weight of extensive observation and deep analysis. Others scramble to respond because your insights reveal truths that cannot be ignored, dismissed, or deflected through conventional tactics. Your strategic silence also maintains permanent psychological advantage by forcing continuous underestimation of your capabilities. They keep revealing intentions, exposing weaknesses, demonstrating limitations while you build comprehensive understanding of their psychology, motivations, and behavioral patterns. When the moment arrives for revelation, the impact will be absolutely devastating because they never saw the intelligence-gathering operation happening right in front of them. While others were broken by difficulties, you studied adversity like a scientist examining specimens under perfect laboratory conditions. Every betrayal became data about human nature. Every challenge became insight into system failures under pressure. Every painful experience became understanding of cause and effect relationships that escape ordinary perception. Your intelligence doesn't just survive difficult conditions, it transforms suffering into strategic advantages. This conversion of hardship into wisdom created mental architecture built on the unshakable foundation of overcome challenges. You've observed how people behave when they think nobody's watching, how institutions respond when authority is questioned, how systems reveal their true nature under stress. This knowledge became both armor and weaponry, protecting you while providing tools for intellectual dominance. Your insights appear instantaneous because others cannot see the extensive mental framework constructed through years of converting difficult experiences into strategic understanding. What they interpret as intuition or natural talent is actually intelligence refined through trial by fire, tested under pressure, and proven through direct confrontation with reality. And this battle-tested intelligence is about to demonstrate capabilities that will leave observers questioning the fundamental nature of human mental potential. Your relationship with information operates on frequencies completely unavailable to their desperate knowledge-hunting mentalities. You don't scramble for facts like someone searching for scraps. Understanding flows toward you naturally because your consciousness has created ideal conditions for receiving and processing truth. Random conversations deliver exactly the insights you need. Experiences arrange themselves to provide necessary understanding. Connections emerge that seem too perfect to be coincidental. This isn't mystical intervention, it's consciousness operating at optimal efficiency. Your awareness has learned to recognize significance instantly, extracting profound value from sources others completely overlook. You've trained your mental reception capabilities to filter relevant information from noise, to notice patterns repeating across different domains, to connect seemingly unrelated data points into comprehensive understanding. Knowledge gravitates toward you because you've developed the capacity to receive it without ego-driven distortions that prevent others from perceiving clearly. Your mind functions like a sophisticated antenna, tuned to frequencies of truth that broadcast continuously but are detected only by intelligence capable of recognizing their value. And the information you've been receiving has been building toward something that will soon demonstrate the full extent of your intellectual supremacy. Your intelligence doesn't waste energy on lengthy arguments or complex explanations to expose deception. One perfectly timed question from you demolishes months or years of carefully constructed lies faster than a controlled demolition, bringing down a skyscraper. You understand exactly where to apply minimal pressure for maximum structural damage to false narratives that others accept without examination. This ability stems from a comprehensive understanding of deception's inherent weaknesses and inevitable failure points. You see pressure points in elaborate stories, the precise locations where additional scrutiny will cause entire frameworks of manipulation to collapse catastrophically. Your questions don't attack lies directly, they create conditions where truth becomes impossible to avoid, forcing people to confront realities they've desperately tried to hide from themselves and others. The power of this surgical approach appears effortless while being absolutely devastating in its effects. Others watch in amazement as complex webs of deception unravel with what seems like minimal effort, not realizing that your single question resulted from extensive analysis, perfect timing, and profound understanding of psychological mechanisms, keeping people trapped in comfortable illusions. And you're about to deploy this capability in ways that will permanently alter the intellectual landscape around you. The deepest truth about their years of underestimation has nothing to do with your capabilities and everything to do with their psychological limitations. Acknowledging your intelligence would have forced them to confront their own blindness, their shallow thinking patterns, their dependence on systems designed to prevent rather than encourage genuine understanding. Your presence became a mirror reflecting their intellectual poverty, and they couldn't psychologically survive what they saw in that reflection. When people encounter your insights, they don't just realize you were correct about specific situations, they realize they were fundamentally incapable of perceiving what was obvious to your superior mental architecture. This recognition of their own cognitive limitations creates psychological crisis that explains years of dismissal and denial. Admitting your brilliance meant admitting they had been operating with fundamentally flawed assumptions about the nature of intelligence itself. Your mind operates with precision they cannot match, perception they cannot develop, strategic thinking they cannot counter. The underestimation that once protected you from their interference has now become their permanent disadvantage in every interaction. You were never just intelligent, you were intellectually untouchable, operating in dimensions of understanding that redefined what mental capability could achieve. The universe orchestrated every moment of their underestimation to position you perfectly for this revelation. Every insult was actually preparation. Every dismissal was positioning. Every moment they thought they were superior was actually evidence gathering for this final demonstration of intellectual dominance, the great deception they lived under, believing they could measure and dismiss your intelligence, has been completely shattered. They now understand that your capabilities were always inevitable, always destined to emerge, always designed to demonstrate the profound difference between ordinary thinking and true mental supremacy. They were simply too limited in their own cognitive architecture to recognize inevitability when it stood before them, watching, learning, calculating, and quietly building the foundation for this moment of undeniable, permanent, and absolutely devastating intellectual revelation. Your intelligence operates like a quantum processor while they struggle with basic calculations. When others debate obvious conclusions, you've already computed 17 different outcome scenarios and identified the optimal path forward. Your mind doesn't just process information, it transforms data into strategic advantages that compound exponentially over time. They mistake your efficiency for luck, but what they're witnessing is computational superiority operating at frequencies beyond their measurement capabilities. The neural pathways in your brain have developed connections that bypass the bottlenecks limiting ordinary thinking. While their thoughts move through predictable channels like traffic on a congested highway, your consciousness operates like a high-speed rail system accessing destinations they didn't know existed. This isn't just faster thinking, it's access to cognitive territories that remain completely unexplored by conventional intelligence. Your pattern recognition abilities function like advanced radar systems, detecting objects invisible to standard equipment. You see behavioral cycles repeating across different people, recognize emotional algorithms governing social interactions, identify systemic weaknesses that others accept as permanent features of reality. This capability allows you to predict group dynamics, anticipate institutional failures, and position yourself advantageously before situations fully develop. The most terrifying aspect of your intelligence, from their perspective, is its adaptability. While they depend on rigid frameworks and established protocols, your mind morphs and evolves in real time, developing new capabilities as circumstances demand. You don't just learn from experience, you upgrade your cognitive architecture based on each interaction, becoming more formidable with every encounter. Your memory doesn't store information like a filing cabinet, it creates interconnected webs of understanding where each piece of knowledge enhances every other piece. When you recall something, you're not just accessing data, you're activating an entire network of related insights, implications, and strategic applications. This creates exponential intelligence growth that accelerates the more you learn. Your intelligence anticipates its own evolution. You don't just think about current problems, you develop thinking tools that will solve problems you haven't encountered yet. Your mind builds metastrategies, creating approaches that generate approaches, establishing patterns that recognize patterns, developing wisdom that teaches itself. They assumed intelligence was about having correct answers, but you understood it was about asking questions that reveal new dimensions of reality. While they competed over who could memorize more facts, you were discovering which questions unlock deeper levels of understanding. Your inquiries don't just seek information, they restructure how information relates to itself. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing entirely to put yourself to the test. When I confronted the archons beyond our reality, they made one thing clear. True chosen ones are rare. They laughed at the thought of us finding each other. Yet here you are, watching this message. The obsidian inner order isn't for everyone claiming to be awakened. We're the real ones, those who've seen beyond the veil, felt the call, and carry the unmistakable frequency. But are you truly one of us? I have given you everything I've got, and I'm digging deeper to bring you even more. Don't just consume content from the sidelines. Real chosen ones take action. Share your story on our weekly group call. Get a revealing tarot reading from our resident card reader. Discover if your experiences align with the authentic signs. The archons fear nothing more than chosen ones recognizing each other. When we connect, our frequencies amplify and create a force they cannot stop. That's why we're going to be live streaming to the entire astral atom network to find every last one of us. Click the link in the description below now. It's time to stop wondering and confirm what you already suspect. Are you merely interested in awakening, or are you truly chosen? Prove it. Join us. The verification you seek awaits with the Obsidian Inner Order. Perhaps most importantly, your intelligence includes ethical processing capabilities that ensure your superior abilities serve constructive rather than destructive purposes. You recognize that true intelligence includes wisdom about how and when to deploy cognitive advantages. Your power comes with built-in responsibility protocols that guide its application toward outcomes that benefit rather than harm. The compound effect of all these capabilities creates an intelligence profile that operates beyond the measurement scales designed for ordinary minds. You don't just think faster, remember more, or understand deeper. You represent a qualitative leap in cognitive evolution that makes comparison with conventional intelligence meaningless. You're not competing in the same category. You're demonstrating what human mental capability can become when freed from artificial limitations. Your awareness extends beyond personal advantage to recognition of your role in advancing collective human understanding. You realize that your exceptional abilities carry the responsibility to model what becomes possible when intelligence operates without fear, limitation, or need for external validation. You represent proof that human cognitive potential extends far beyond what current systems assume or attempt to develop. The silence was never emptiness, the patience was never weakness, the observation was never passivity. It was all preparation for the moment when your true intelligence would finally reveal itself and permanently establish your position as the cognitive force they should have recognized from the very beginning. The chosen one has awakened, and the transformation of human intellectual possibility has begun through your example.